Hello everybody, the Green Man Gaming Summer Sale has started and I'm here to give you suggestions on which games to pick up for stupid cheap. Also, they have this cool little gift system going on where if you buy certain tiers of games, you get free stuff. We'll explain that in a minute, but first I want to let you guys know that I'm also now a Green Man Gaming affiliate, which is perfect because that is where I buy 99.9% of all of my games. They approached me, like, hey, you want to be an affiliate? And I was like, hell yes, I do, because I use your website for almost all my game purchases. The only exception to that is if it's not actually on there. So things like stuff that were exclusive to the Epic Store, like Hades, when I pick that up, and just like weird little games like on Xbox or whatever that I can't pick up on Green Man Gaming. But for the most part, like I said, I buy all my games on here because they're cheap. I often buy games that are brand new for 10 to 12 to 15% off, depending on what kind of deal they've got going on, just because it's way cheaper to do that than actually buying it on Steam. You're getting a Steam key anyways, you may as well buy it for cheaper than Steam is offering it, right? So like games like Vampire, you know, basically every new game I do on the channel, I buy from Green Man Gaming, so it is totally worth it to jump on there and get a really good deal on new games and obviously on older games that are going on sale for the summer sale. But make sure that you use my cool affiliate link that I will put in the description and in the comments. If you go there and pick up a game through that, I get a cut of it, and that's cool because you get to support the channel and at the same time you're getting really good deals on games. So let's quickly talk about how the summer sale works this year. So you have 3 different tiers of games. You have gold, silver, and bronze. You can see which tier it is based on the little badge in the corner whenever you're clicking on one of these games. So if you get a bronze tier game, you're getting a free reward, but that slowly ramps up once you get to gold. So on bronze, you get a bronze gift, which is a free game that you get to choose from a massive list of games. A lot of these games are like 99-cent to like $3 games to give you an idea of what you're looking at there. Some of them appear to be very throwaway, but there are some cool ones in there. I'm not going to get into them because there's a lot of them. But on top of buying a bronze game, you also get a 7% sale-wide voucher to use. So you can then go back to any other game and get 7% off of that. Silver gets you a Intel starter pack, which comes with a choice of 4 out of 10 games. So you have basically 5 full games to choose from and 5 in-game content to choose from, and you can mix and match 4 of those. So there's like Star Trek Bridge Crew, Raw Data, There Came an Echo, Goat Punks, and Gas Guzzlers Extreme. Those are the games that you could choose from. For the in-game content you could choose from, there's Terra, Dreadnought, Star Trek Online, Adventure Capitalist, and Star Wars Pinball. There might be 1 or 2 of those that sound interesting to you, and that's totally fine. You're going to be able to choose 4 each time you get a silver or gold pack. So it's kind of like, you know, it's up to you what you end up getting. You also get a silver gift. Now these are a bit better than the bronze gifts, obviously. These are games that are going to be quite a bit better in general than the bronze games. Not that the games are better because of, you know, their price point, but just they're a little bit more widely regarded as better games. Like Quarantine, which is now out of early access, is on there. I would suggest that. There's Adrift, there's Mountain Blade, there's Killing Floor, there's a couple Castlevania games, Magica, Overlord, Evil Genius. There's just a lot of good stuff. So you get to choose one of those when you buy a silver game. And on top of that, you get a 10% sale-wide voucher for the rest of the sale. And then finally, there is the gold tier, which gets you the Intel starter pack, which we just talked about. You get a gold gift. Now, these games are really good. You got like Injustice on there. You got Batman Arkham Asylum. There's Crusader Kings 2, Next Up Hero, which I actually quite like. It is a lot of fun. There's a Batman Lego game. There's Fear 3, Rage, Warhammer Vermintide. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in there that is just a cool game that you get for free by purchasing a gold game. And then you also get a 15% sale-wide voucher to be able to use on any other game as well. So you get gold, silver, and bronze tier games. You purchase one of those and you get these free rewards. So the way I have done my suggestions for the sale is I've broken them up into the different categories. So you have 5 bronze games, 5 silver games, and 5 gold games. And I've tried to make them really varied. So you're going to find games in here that are I believe, hidden gems, things that a lot of people don't really know about or haven't played, but are fantastic little games or big games. And then I've also done things that are really popular and everything in between. So hopefully there should be something in here for everybody, at least 1 or 2 different games that you would find entertaining. So let's start with the bronze tier games and work our way up. And our very first suggestion is Life is Strange. This is my favorite game of all time. And I know that is really high praise, but it totally deserves it. Life is Strange is a narrative adventure game where you play as a character named Max, and you're going to this fancy high school. You're a photographer, you're kind of artsy-fartsy, but that is your thing. You don't really fit in, and at the beginning of the game, you find out that you have the ability to manipulate time. And that is a huge gameplay mechanic within the game itself, but the game has kind of a telltale vibe to it. You have a lot of choices that matter within the game. You're talking to a lot of characters. There's a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of like fancy gameplay where you're doing platforming or anything. It's not that kind of game. It is an adventure game through and through, and it tells a phenomenal story. Here's my suggestion for the people who jump into this game and start playing it based on, different suggestions from different people. It usually feels a little strange. They get in, they start playing, and they're like, this is kind of just a teen drama. They get through episode 1, and they're like, that is okay. It's cool. Whatever. It is what it is. And then they stop playing. But my suggestion to you is to keep playing, because it is not what it appears to be. Once you get to episode 3 and the end of episode 3, you'll know what I mean. They ratchet up everything. It goes from 0 to 100 real quick, and that teen drama stuff is really just a facade. If you like things like Twin Peaks, for example, this will do it for you. This is a awesome story told amazingly, and by the end of the entire process, you're gonna feel something, whether it's sadness or happiness or just any other kind of emotion in between that. You'll see what I mean when you get there. Play it. It is totally worth your time. It's not going to take you super long to beat it, and for $4, you can't beat that. It is great. Also, on top of that, the other Life is Strange games are on sale. You have Life is Strange Before the Storm, which is a prequel, which I suggest playing after Life is Strange, even though it's a prequel. It takes control of one of the other characters. Her name is Chloe. She is Max's best friend, and you get to kind of see her story before Life is Strange happens. But again, I suggest playing that after the first Life is Strange. You'll see why once you get to the end of the game. I'm trying not to spoil things, but it'll make that game more meaningful to you. On top of that, Life is Strange 2 is on sale. It is a gold tier game, so you can get the gold tier rewards off that one. But I suggest, even though it has some ties to the original Life is Strange, I say just playing Life is Strange, because that is my favorite game. I think that is the best game in the series, and you don't really need to play the other games, but if you enjoy it, you can go check them out as well. My second suggestion on the bronze tier list is The Turing Test, which is a phenomenal puzzle game. If you've ever played things like Portal and you really enjoyed it, this game will be right up your alley. But this tells a phenomenal story from start to finish, where you are talking to this AI basically the entire game and trying to figure out what happened to the rest of your crew. If you don't know what the Turing Test is, not necessarily the game, but the actual test, it is essentially, and this is in layman's terms, trying to figure out whether or not a AI can be seen as human, and is not, or can be mistaken as a human rather than as an artificial intelligence. If you've seen movies like Ex Machina and you really enjoyed that, this is, again, right up your alley story-wise. It's got kind of some cyberpunk elements story-wise to it, but just on a base game level, it is a fantastic puzzle game that I highly recommend. And speaking of cyberpunk, the third game on our bronze tier list is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. You've probably heard about the Deus Ex games. They are fantastic action games where you're able to make a lot of choices within it. You could play the way that you want to play. You can either be stealthy or aggressive and just go in and shoot everything, and Mankind Divided is no exception to that. It is a great game, especially for $4.50 plus the bronze tier stuff that you get. It's great. I cannot not suggest this one. I saw it on the bronze tier list and I was like, boom, easy addition to the suggestions, even though there's tons of bronze games that are as good, if not better, in many regards. It's just, this is a great game for the price, and if you've never jumped into Deus Ex, this is a great game to do so. But maybe you're into sci-fi stuff, but Deus Ex just really doesn't do it for you. Well, the fourth suggestion on our bronze tier list is Everspace, which is a phenomenal space shooter. You jump into a ship and you work your way through different sectors. It is a FTL-like game in many ways, where it is a roguelite. As you go through the game, you're going to get further and further, and then you're going to die, and then once you do so, you'll start back over with a different ship and different upgrades, and you'll be able to slowly unlock things as you go throughout the game, but you're making these jumps and assessing risk versus reward, and it's for the most part a fantastic space game where the controls on the ships feel really good. It is a beautiful game. It actually has VR capabilities on Steam, so if you have a VR headset, that is something that you're able to do with this game. But just generally speaking, it is great, and for $6 it is phenomenal. Like, this is a game that most people should play if you're into space games. For me personally, it really spoke to me because my favorite MMO of all time is Earth and Beyond. Ripped that game. It got shut down by EA a long time ago, but it kind of had the same feel to me, where I was able to take control of a ship, jump into space, and do really awesome things with that ship and make cool choices and upgrade my ship as I go and explore, find new things, and when I die, I have new stuff to look forward to. And I love that kind of thing. So Everspace is obviously a good suggestion for anyone out there who likes that kind of genre. And our final game in the bronze tier is a huge departure from everything we suggested thus far, which is Beat Cop. It is a very strange little game where you're playing as a ex-detective who got framed, and now you're a beat cop, and certain people want to kill you, like the mafia and whatnot, and you're having to do mundane things like give out tickets and, you know, make sure that people are parked in the right area and just like weird stuff like that. But you're also trying to figure out like why and how you were framed and who did it, and you're going through this awesome, cool little funny story in essentially an 80s cop show. And if that doesn't speak to you immediately and you're not interested in that, then it's probably not a game for you. But if you're like, this game looks interesting at the very least, then it's probably worth picking up. And it's definitely a great game. And of course, you know, you're getting the bronze tier stuff too when you pick up this game. So if none of the other games were interested or interesting to you, then this one may very well be the thing in the bronze tier that really, you know, surprises you, honestly. Jumping into the first game in the silver tier, though, is Borderlands: The Handsome Collection. This has been freaking on sale perpetually over the last couple months since Borderlands 3 was announced. And heck, Borderlands, the enhanced edition, also had like a free weekend this last weekend. So this is just one of those games that has been out there. And if you haven't picked it up yet, you really should. People are going to be talking a lot about Borderlands 3 coming up here in the next couple months, and Borderlands: The Handsome Collection comes with Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel and all of the DLC in those games. Plus, there is new free DLC in Borderlands 2 that tells basically the bridge story between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. It's phenomenal. Jump in and do this. This is a great game, and for $5, you're getting more content than you're going to get out of any other game that you're going to get on sale here. Like, seriously, you're getting 2 full big games and a ton of DLC there. You can convince your buddies, which I suggest you do, to also pick it up for $5.58 and be able to jump in and play with them. You can play up to 4-player co-op, and Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel make it significantly easier to kind of drop in and drop out with your friends as you go. You're still going to run into issues if you're progressing without them, where you're going to be able to dominate things and they're not going to be able to jump in with you. You're going to have to go back and do stuff that they haven't done yet. So like, try to play together if you're playing cooperatively. But if you're into stupid humor and you like cool shooters, maybe you're into games like action RPGs, Diablo, and stuff like that, then this game will also speak to you because it is the original looter shooter. It does a phenomenal job of it. And I think everybody needs to play Borderlands 2 at the very least, because it is such a formative game for the future of games that things like Destiny and heck, even Anthem and stuff like that came out because I believe Borderlands 2 really set the scene for them and did a great job of it. Easily, this is one of the best value you're going to get on this entire sale, so definitely get it if you don't have it already. My second suggestion in the silver tier is Kerbal Space Program, which is a space program simulator, kind of, where you get to build your own rockets and aircraft and do so with a myriad of parts. And this game is constantly updated, so more and more stuff is being added to it. Plus, there's also a lot of mod support, especially on Steam. There's workshop support now. So there's a lot of stuff going on with it. But if you're even minutely interested in space, like, you know, you watch some of the NASA or SpaceX launches and you're like, that's cool, then you're gonna love this because you get to build your own rockets and figure out how rocket science vaguely works. It does adhere to a lot of physics properties, and building rockets in a way that would actually kind of make sense in the real world will be something that you end up doing. And you may find yourself on YouTube researching physics and rockets and how that all works, and you're going to have a blast doing it because you're going to learn and play at the same time. And it's a really lovely experience, in my opinion, that is going to vampire all of your time away. You're going to jump into this game. You're going to be like, I'm going to play for 20 minutes and build this rocket. And next thing you know, you've played for 10 hours and you finally landed on the moon for the first time and you're so freaking excited. It's great. There's 2 expansions. There's the Making History expansion, which is, it's okay. It adds a mission editor and stuff like that. It adds a couple extra parts as well, and some scenarios where you get to essentially relive some of the Apollo missions. It's cool, but that expansion overall, I think, is not as good as the new one, which adds so many extra parts to it. The Breaking Ground expansion is the expansion to have if you're into this game and you really want to play it, because it essentially adds servos and pistons and motors, and you can create some really cool spacecraft because of that. And even things that you were restricted on making because you didn't have access to that kind of stuff, you can make some really cool stuff with the Breaking Ground expansion. So pick that one up if you already have Kerbal Space Program. Otherwise, pick up Kerbal Space Program, try it, see if it's up your alley, and try to learn how to make rockets, because it's really fun when things explode and you're like, damn it, okay, I gotta revert to launch. That didn't work out. My next suggestion on the silver tier is For the King. This is a really pretty looking game that does the low poly style in a phenomenal way, but think of it like an old school JRPG, like Final Fantasy VII-esque kind of thing, where you have a party of 3 people and the combat in it is turn-based and you're, you know, casting spells and using abilities, but it also, the overworld takes place on this hex grid. You can control the 3 different people either through multiplayer, you know, other people could take control of their characters and do what they want with them, or you could do it single player and you control, you know, all of them at once or individually or however you want to end up playing it. But you're basically going through this hex world, exploring these stories. There's multiple different stories that you can play through, and as you go through, you're going to be upgrading your characters and leveling them up and seeing dynamic events and having to make really tough choices throughout the adventure, because at the end of the day, this game is a roguelike game where if you die, your character is dead. And there's some of these situations that you're going to get yourself in where you're going to die and you're going to have to start over, but you're going to learn a lot from that experience. And going in the next time, you're going to understand how to play the game a lot better. It is not easy. I would say on the difficulty scale, it's somewhere between Dark Souls and Kerbal Space Program, right? You're going to find a good medium there. I know that's like a really bad scale, but you're going to find a really good medium for figuring out how to get through this game. And the first experience I ever had with it was playing alongside an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they did great, but they also trolled each other, because if you're playing in multiplayer, this game allows you to steal all the gold if it's offered to you, or share it. And when you have 2 children playing, that can get very funny very quickly. I would suggest it. It's a great game, but it may not be for everybody. If you're into kind of like old school RPGs, like JRPGs, then this will be right up your alley. Otherwise, look at it. If it doesn't seem like it's for you, skip it. And after mentioning Dark Souls, it would be bad for me not to suggest not Dark Souls. No, I don't actually like Dark Souls, but I like Fury, and Fury is freaking phenomenal, and that is our 4th game in the silver tier. Fury is a cyberpunk-esque world that is really cool. It's It is adult, so if you're getting this for a kid, I wouldn't suggest it. There's quite a bit of language and stuff in here, but it is a phenomenal boss killing game. That's what it is essentially. It's boss after boss, and you're fighting your way through them, and they are difficult, but it is a game where if you're into games like Dark Souls or Bloodborne or stuff like that, where you're basically just trying to get through a difficult fight and do it in a way that you're not dying in it, it is right up your alley. It is really cool. It's got a phenomenal soundtrack, like the Fury soundtrack. I love listening to just outside of video games. It's really, really good. And it's a game that will grab you if you're into those boss fighting games or a really difficult like action RPG games. But if you're not into that, just skip this game because that's all it is. You're just going to go from boss to boss killing them, and they're very difficult, but it is a lot of fun to play. And if you're good at those kind of games, you're going to find a lot to love here. But finally, in the silver tier, for my last suggestion is Tabletop Simulator. For $10, you're getting a game with infinite amount of gameplay. The game itself has official DLC of board games. It's essentially just a table, and you could play board games and whatnot on it, or you could play like D&D or anything that you would play on a tabletop, like tabletop games. And in Tabletop Simulator, they have their official DLC that you can go play that are like official games, like Zia Legends of a Drift System. Highly recommend that one if you want to actually like buy one of the DLCs. Love it. Same with The Captain is Dead. Those are really cool board games that you can get for super cheap as DLC in comparison to, you know, actually buying the real thing. Like Zia, if you buy that game in real life, it's like $80 for the tabletop version of it, or like The Captain is Dead is like 40 or $60. I don't remember, somewhere in there. But you can get those for like $10 as DLC, Tabletop Simulator. Additionally, because it is a Steam game, it comes with Steam Workshop support, which means you can jump on the workshop and find tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of board games on there that are all stuff that you should be playing. Board games are fantastic. It brings a lot of people together, and you can get this game for your friends as well if you already have it, and add more people to play board games in over the internet. And I think that that is a really cool system. Some of the games that I enjoy playing just with friends are things like Betrayal at House on the Hill. Highly recommend that one. I love Pandemic. They have Gloomhaven on Tabletop Simulator, which according to Board Game Geek is the best game, the best board game of all time. And I don't necessarily disagree with him. It is fantastic, but it is a big game with a lot of stuff going on. And if you're able to get the mod for that on the Steam Workshop and jump in and start playing it, you're going to enjoy the hell out of it. You could play it solo, which is cool. But if you get some friends in there to learn it and play it with you, you're going to have an epic campaign through that entire game. It is huge. That's all I'm going to say. Like, that's a game that you're going to constantly come back to and get a different experience every time because it keeps telling you stories. And I love that kind of thing. But Tabletop Simulator, easily one of the most recommended games for me. If anybody's like, hey, what game do you suggest getting as one of my first Steam games? I say Tabletop Simulator, because you're going to get so much gameplay out of it. It's an endless possibility of games as long as you have other people to be able to play with. So if you can get your friends to play this as well, and they're into board games, then do that. Or just ask them. You actually may find out that they already own it, and you can pick it up and go play board games with them. And that's always cool as well. If you don't have friends, which, you know, some people don't, you can jump online and find other people trying to get together to play board games on like the Tabletop Simulator subreddit or on the Steam page. They have their community there where people are constantly getting together, or you could just go join public games in the game itself and be able to find friends that way. And I would suggest doing that because you find some really cool people in the world by just playing some tabletop games with them. Moving on to the gold tier, starting with the first one, I suggest picking up Resident Evil 7. Not the standard edition, but the gold edition, which is $6 or $7 more or something like that, but comes with all of the DLC. And some of the DLC is kind of throwaway, but does tell fun stories or gives you cool gameplay to be able to go back and enjoy the game with. But Resident Evil 7, hands down, is one of the best Resident Evil games in many, many, many years. It is phenomenal. It is scary, so if you're not into scary games, avoid Resident Evil 7. But it is really freaking good. I love Resident Evil 7. We did a playthrough of it. I will put that in the description and in the comments. It's great. It's like easily a 9 out of 10 game for me. I think it does most things correct in a way where if you're into the Resident Evil series, you're going to really enjoy it. It kind of reboots everything, but maybe you're really itching for an old Resident Evil experience. Well, Resident Evil 2 is also on sale, and I would suggest that one. That's the remake. It's about half off, so it's not a super huge discount, but for a game that just came out a couple months ago, definitely recommend it. Resident Evil 2 Remake is phenomenal, does a great job of adhering to the original, but also updating it and making it new and fresh. So that is also a thing that you can go pick up. Maybe you've already played Resident Evil 7. Well, Resident Evil 2 is a good game to try after that. But moving on to our next gold suggestion, I suggest Dead Cells, which is a phenomenal 2D action roguelike game. You're going to go through, find new weapons, find new items, die, utilize that information, go through again, and just have cooler and cooler experiences as you unlock things and you upgrade your character. And you go through and you die and you again learn and then upgrade and move on as you go throughout. There's a lot of really cool things in this game, visually, sound-wise, and gameplay-wise, that I don't want to spoil. You just have to jump in and play it. And if you're into roguelites and you haven't played Dead Cells, it's phenomenal. If you're into 2D action games, I would also suggest it. But if you're not really into those series, avoid it. There's other games on this list of games that you can definitely pick up and have more fun with. For instance, maybe you like a slower paced experience or one that you can take at your own pace, then I would suggest picking up Stellaris, which is a 4X game made by Paradox. It's set in space. There's really cool stories that are told within this game, and I would say of all the 4X games out there at the moment, this one has a lot of or most of the best storytelling elements within it and how they go about utilizing that with gameplay. But if you are not a person who enjoys 4X games, this might end up being a good jumping on point if you're looking to get into them. But if you just hate the genre in general, this is definitely not a game for you. However, Stellaris is fantastic. It's got a lot of expansions. Do not buy them. Don't buy them yet. You could buy an addition to the game that comes with a lot of those, or you could pick and choose which ones look cool, but honestly, just play the base game if you haven't yet, and if you enjoy it, then start looking at the DLC. There's a lot of mods and stuff that you're able to install as well, so start with the base game. If that is interesting, you enjoy it, then start looking at the DLC, which is also on sale. But don't go buying everything right off the bat unless you know that you're going to enjoy it. But if you've looked at all these space games that I've suggested so far and none of them are really doing it for you, you don't like Everspace, you don't like Kerbal Space Program, you don't like Stellaris, and you haven't picked up No Man's Sky, you need to pick up No Man's Sky. A lot of people gave this game a really hard time when it launched, rightfully so, because it was awful. But the dev team has put in the time and the effort, and over the last few years, they have updated this game massively, and it is so freaking good now. It has full-on multiplayer where you're able to jump in and make bases, and you can explore around anywhere in the galaxy. You're never going to explore it all. It's so freaking huge, but there's a lot of stuff going on in this game that make it so freaking good that it is, in my opinion, now a must-play game. They're even winning awards for how much they've improved the game over the years, and I can see why, because I love jumping back in every update and seeing what's new and trying things out. And let's put it this way. If you're a kind of person who jumps in and plays Minecraft with friends and you enjoy that, or Terraria, or Portal Knights, or Starbound, or any of those kind of games that you really enjoy, that experience that you have with your friends when you're playing, No Man's Sky is now the premier game to do that in. It has everything those other games do multiplayer-wise, the base building, the everything. But it's a great-looking game that also, and surprisingly, has really fun gameplay attached to it, where you're able to go out and not just upgrade your ship and find new ones. You're also able to get a capital ship, which can fit tons of little ships inside of it, and you can have like this really big, gigantic ship that you fly around in, and it's awesome. I love this game now. And there's updates coming later this summer that are going to add even more support to it. There's even now VR support coming, which you can play, I think, through Steam. So if you, again, have a headset, a VR headset, that is something that you can now jump in and do with No Man's Sky. It's great. It's really good. If you skipped it at launch, then now is the time to pick it up. And it's better than it ever has been and totally worth playing. But the final game on my list of suggestions is one that most people have either heard of or played, but I would be really bad if I did not suggest it. Monster Hunter World is available on Green Man Gaming on the gold tier for over half off, and that is a really good deal. For me, my experience with Monster Hunter has always been, oh man, I really want to get into that series, but it's been very Japanese, where they haven't really done anything but mobile versions of the game on like Game Boy and whatnot forever. And then finally with Monster Hunter World, they've brought it to PC through the rest of the world, where you're able to jump in and actually play like a proper Monster Hunter game. And it's really good. I put in a lot of time over this last month. I was out of town and I had like all of my videos scheduled to go up. But while I was out of town, I have access to an Xbox One, and I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I jumped in and it's on Game Pass. You can go and play it on there if you have it, but to actually like purchase the game and get it for a really good price, it is totally worth it. Monster Hunter is a game in which you jump through killing big monsters, upgrading your gear based on those monsters that you're killing, and you're hunting things down. It's very Japanese. If you're not into like JRPG kind of stuff, then you may not enjoy Monster Hunter World, but it is just phenomenal, and it looks gorgeous, and it runs really well, at least on the Xbox version and on the PC for what I've played of it when I've downloaded it there. So I enjoy this game. It's got really big updates that have come out, and it's got even bigger expansions coming and in the works, and I think it's awesome. If you haven't played Monster Hunter World and there's no other games on here that you own that really seem interesting to you, then at the very least give this one a try, because there's a lot of content here and it's really freaking good. But there you go. That is my entire list of suggestions for the Green Man Gaming Summer Sale. It runs until August 7th. If you do plan on picking up a game, please, very please, jump in and use our affiliate link that I put below, because that gives us money back, and you basically get to support the channel by buying games, and I think that is really freaking cool. Again, as I said at the beginning, Green Man Gaming is a website that I have used for years to buy all of my games, minus the ones that are just not on their platform, because it is a way cheaper way of doing so, and you're getting the exact same thing that you would be getting otherwise. Maybe you're buying like Rainbow Six Siege and you're looking at jumping in on Uplay on the PC. Well, you get a Uplay key if you buy it off of Green Man Gaming. Same thing with all Steam games. You get a Steam key, and there's even some Epic Store games on there that you get an Epic key out of. So it's way more cost effective to buy off of Green Man Gaming than elsewhere. And here's the deal. If you buy a certain amount of stuff on there, you end up getting a VIP account, which I have. It doesn't necessarily, take a whole lot to get one, but you'll get additional deals where, sometimes a brand new game that hasn't come out yet and is on pre-order is like, 10% off. Well, your VIP deal might add an extra couple percent to that, or you'll get like new vouchers that add like big discounts to it. And I love that. And I love always coming back to the site to pick up stuff for super cheap, because for me, I don't often get given games for the channel to do. I go out and I purchase them. And when I do so, I'm going to Green Man Gaming because it saves me money. And I love that about the website. And I've never had any issues with them. They had a weird rough patch like years and years and years ago, but that has all been figured out, and now it is a phenomenal site to go and get your games from. They're all above board. It's not like they're key reselling or anything. They're legitimate keys that they're getting from the companies. They're just selling at such a low price point because they are trying to compete with Steam and Epic and Uplay and all that. And they do a great job of it, and I highly suggest using them. So again, please use the link that we have in the description. And if you have any other suggestions for games, also put them in the comments so people can jump in and get better ideas of what to get. These were just the games that I felt like suggesting this time around, and stuff that I think is a pretty good birth of stuff that people would be interested in at the very least. So with all of that said, thank you very much for watching, and we shall see you guys next time.